So this is a 500-day dry-aged prime rib of beef. We understand that the 500-day dry-aged meat isn't for everybody. It is an acquired taste, but this is what it should look like. It should have no mold growth using the process that we used. You will see that it's definitely dry and it looks like a mummy. We're gonna start by starting to remove the fat cap. This is extremely hard and very dry. So what you're gonna do first is you're gonna slide a boning knife between the meat and the fat cap and slowly remove the fat cap. You're gonna make nice small cuts and pry the fat off, mostly using where the muscles separate as a guide. You don't wanna cut into the meat at this point. You can see here that we've still got fresh meat inside of the mummy. So as we start to peel off the layers, you'll see more and more of the fresh meat inside. You'll see here, now that we've got the cap off, that there are some of the smaller muscles in the cap. This is all desiccated meat and isn't really good for anything, but you can throw it in a pot, render it down, and use it for rendered dry-aged beef fat. So we're doing this old school. We're gonna be using a saw, so you wanna start splitting off the chine bone, and then you're gonna go right down the end of the rib bones with the saw to separate out the loin from the ends of the bones. So we've got the cap off and we've got our first glimpse of the fresh meat inside. A good dry-aged loin should smell of light truffle, nuts, and blue cheese. If it smells in any way rancid or sour, then it is no good and it should probably be discarded. For this application, we're breaking the loin all the way down, so we're just gonna pop it off of the ribs. To do this, you just guide your knife along the top of your rib and try to remove as little meat as possible. Because of the dry age, you don't have to be quite as careful as if it was completely fresh. Just pry off the ribs, slide your knife through it. So the ribs at this point are pretty dry. I wouldn't suggest selling them, but you could steam them or you could do something with them for your friends to try to add some moisture back into them. Again, there shouldn't be a smell that's rancid or sour. It should still smell of that nutty, truffly, aromatic smell. To start separating the actual eye of the rib, we're going to pull the final fat cap down. You just peel it back from the eye and then pry it loose. You'll be left with the eye of the rib and the spinalis. What we're doing here is separating the spinalis from the longissimus dorsi, and that will give us the ribeye cap and the actual eye of the rib that can be made into tasting menu sections. As you see, the spinalis or ribeye cap has got a lot of sinew on the top. You want to take your knife, run it between the meat and the silver skin, and remove all that sinew and all of that fat. When you're using your knives on this, the meat is a little bit hard, the bones are hard. You want to make sure that you cut away from yourself so that if your knife slips, you don't end up stabbing yourself in the gut or the leg. We're now down to the eye of the rib. We're going to remove all the fat and the silver skin the same way we did off the spinalis, off the longissimus, and clean this all the way off as well. We don't need the fat or any of the silver skin for the application today. So we're just gonna cut off the ends. They're dry and we don't need them. We're gonna run a knife along the length of the eye and then cut that in half for our final portions. Now you'll see that the meat is a little bit drier than fresh meat would be, but it's still pink, it's still nice and red, and the texture and the fat is all still there. This meat is absolutely delicious. I know we've done a lot of different ages during this project, and I definitely prefer somewhere around the 60 to 90 day. The 180, the 365, the 500, they're all great and they all have their place. But for a regular eating steak on the grill, I definitely think that the age on a 60 to 90 is my preference. If you guys don't mind, why don't you put in the comments below what your perfect dry age is. It's been a great journey with you guys over the last 500 days doing this dry age project. Thanks for joining me and peace out.